This is a banana. And this is a strange and alien-looking creature that enjoys eating bananas. And this is also a very strange and alien-looking creature that's very fond of bananas. Why, you ask, would I do such a weird intro? I don't know, I'm a weird person. This other banana-living critter is Proscopolis bison cinctus, better known as the bison sawtooth stag beetle, and my new best friend. Everybody meet Maximus. Now, this guy definitely takes the cake for the largest insect I have ever had. As you can see, he's a pretty big boy. That was completely unnecessary, sir. Oh, take me dang glasses off. I don't like me on camera with glasses. Anyways, while he's not quite as long as Kirby was, the shield mantis I used to have, he's significantly bulkier. And while he's not quite as bulky as the Eastern Hercules beetle I used to have, Achilles, he is significantly longer. So he's nearly as bulky as the Hercules beetle was and quite a bit longer. So I think overall he's the largest single insect I've ever had. And I have actually wanted a stag beetle like this since I was a little kid. Which may surprise you to know because, as I have mentioned in an earlier video, I was terrified of bugs as a kid. That didn't keep me from thinking they were amazing, though, and I always kind of wanted a stag beetle, even though I thought they were scary. So I would definitely consider this guy to be my first large pet beetle. Like, in another previous video, I mentioned I lumped kind of stags and rhinos and big flower beetles as kind of the same thing as far as pet keeping goes. There are differences between them, but overall, keeping these guys is fairly similar. I would consider this my first large stag beetle. Now, the funny thing is, I kept another species that was similar in size to this overall, or they could reach similar sizes. Now, the rainbow stag beetle, Phyllocregnathus mulleri, is about, on average, the same size as these guys. However, the one I got, which I still have right here, as you can see, there's a significant size difference between the two of them. This is rather a shrimpy little guy. If he had been this big, he would be absolutely magnificent. While this guy is a good 2 3/4, just about 3 inches, this guy was only about 1 1/4 inches. So smaller than most of the roaches I had. By quite a bit, actually. This guy, on the other hand, is a solid 3 inches of pure muscle. So, he's definitely more significant as a pet. So this is a major male, which means it's on the upper end of the scale for what they can achieve. About 70 millimeters is about as big as these guys get. This guy is 68.5, 69. So yeah, while these are not giants in the stag beetle world, they're still considered large insects. The biggest of the stag beetles is probably, I would guess, either the European giant stag or Dorcas titanus, the Asian giant stag. Either way, there's stag beetles that get up past 4 inches. And this, about 3 inches, including the mandibles, is about all you're going to get with these guys. So they're medium-sized stag beetles, but very large insects overall. But at this size and, durability level, I would say these make excellent actual pets. Not just bugs that you keep in a box because they're interesting to look at, but actual pets that you can hang out with and, pet. They're sturdy enough to be able to tolerate that. Now, these guys are very middle of the road in a lot of ways as stag beetles go. Their lifespan is also around the middle of the road. You have species like Dorcas hope, the Japanese stag beetle, that can live up to 5 years sometimes, which is crazy long for a beetle, especially in the stags and rhinos subcategory. So, yeah. And then you've got other stag beetles that are smaller, less significant, and yeah, they'll croak after a few months, just like, June beetles or any other beetle. These guys, right about in the middle, like good 9 months to a year as adults is what you'll probably get from these, which is a long time. Because if you watched my other video about my top 7 pet beetles for people who were, or insects rather, for people who are like ADHD and can't remember to keep up on stuff, the big beetles were in the running, but they weren't at the top because of how the economics of them. Like, these beetles do not live very long, and they're very expensive. This guy I got for $60, which is an absolute steal as far as large stags and rhinos go, especially for one that can live up to a year. That is a crazy good value. So yeah, I'll take the opportunity to say shout out to Coast Beetles and happy birthday to me. So yeah, beetles like this would absolutely be the #1 pet insect without a doubt, if it weren't for the fact that they are so short-lived for the price. That is the only thing that really kills these kind of things as a good pet for a lot of people. Like, nobody wants to pay $200 for something that's going to die in 3 months. Which is where I feel that the stags overall... What are you doing? You're not about to fly on camera. Don't you even think about it. Here, you eat some more banana and behavior. Ow! Jesus! Okay. That is one point against stags compared to rhinos, is they can do that. Thankfully, though, these pincers seem pretty ferocious. In the males, the point of the fulcrum is so far apart from each other that they actually don't bite that hard. Not as hard as you'd think for how scary they look, but then they'll definitely give you a little pinchy pinch if you're not careful, like I just wasn't just now. But yeah, the females definitely bite a lot harder because they're smaller and sharper pincers. These guys, they're less like wire clippers and more like chopsticks. But yeah, that was a surprising little detour there. What was I saying? Oh yes, I was about to say I generally favor stags over rhinos as pets because of that longevity reason. The longest lived of all the rhino beetles is probably the Hercules beetle. Not the Dynastis Titius like I had, but the true original Dynastis Hercules from South America. The big guy that's about like the length of your forearm. Yeah, they can live up to a year. That is the longest you're going to get out of any rhino. And so can these guys. They're middle of the road for stags. There are no rhinos that are going to live 3 or 4 years, like the genus Dorcas and the stag beetles. And even ones that can live up to a year, like this guy, are significantly rarer. And stag beetles, on average, from what I've seen in stores, are not really any more expensive than rhinos. So overall, yeah, you got a critter that can live 2 or 3 times the length of the average rhino for the same price. Only caveat being these, which they're not deadly, but they'll hurt if you're not careful. They are generally not aggressive, though. I just happened to be shoving a banana in his face, and I did not get my thumb out of his way, so that was my fault. Now, let's talk about Prosocopoilus bison cinctus as a species. The first thing you may have noticed is I used 3 words in that scientific name, and normally there are only 2, the genus and the species. But oftentimes there is a subspecies tacked on the end, and that is definitely the case with these guys. They are native to Southeast Asia and Oceania, so you're going to see them across a lot of island nations like Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, East Timor, places like that. So island populations especially tend to yield a lot of distinct subspecies that, while they are close enough to be able to crossbreed, they are nonetheless genetically distinct from each other. Now, the bison cinctus subspecies is actually from Papua New Guinea for the most part. So, yeah. But yeah, these guys are very much common in Southeast Asia. Like I said, Indonesia and Papua New Guinea are probably the 2 biggest populations of Prosocopoilus bison, but yeah, they are pretty cool. Like I said, middle of the road for size, middle of the road for lifespan, kind of middle of the road for looks too. They're not quite as fantastic looking as Phyllocragnathus mulleri, the rainbow stag, or the The metallic stag, which Cyclomatus metallifer. They're not quite as fantastic looking as those guys. But the genus Dorcas, on the other hand, is known to be probably some of the biggest stag beetles and also the longest lived. However, they're all just big, bulky black stag beetles. The genus Dorcas, to me, kind of look all the same. Even though I really do want a Dorcas titanus and a Dorcas hope because they are pretty cool. But these guys, they don't look like big black battle tanks. To me, this guy mostly resembles a station wagon. Like, tell me that is not just a station wagon with antlers. So yeah, these guys being fairly middle of the road is kind of a blessing because from what I've noticed, it keeps their price down. They are neither so unbelievably crazy looking and gorgeous, nor are they so gigantic and, you know, long-lived that they're like crazy sought after to where it drives the prices way, way up. But they're not so insignificant in their size and their lifespan and their looks that they are, you know, not worth keeping, frankly. They are right smack in the middle. I feel like this is almost the stag beetle from which all other stag beetles are based, you know? Like, all other ones are either more colorful or less colorful or bigger or smaller. This guy's just right in the middle all around. And, you know, sometimes medium is the best size. And sometimes medium lifespan is the best because, you know, you don't have to deal with half a decade of a larval phase. You know, like, it's they're so perfect. They're just right in the middle, and that's a comfortable place to be. Although right in the middle for me is probably the biggest bug most people have ever seen, so at least if you're in North America. Words cannot express how jealous I am of our friends in Japan, Korea, and China, where these kinds of insects are not only prevalent in the wild, but are also very popular as pets, so yeah, I have to go searching all over the web to find something like this, and it costs me, you know, $60 considered extremely cheap. Whereas in Japan, you can pick up a Dorcas hope at 7-Eleven. Maybe not at 7-Eleven, but at convenience stores. They literally just have little corner pet shops that are full of beetles like this. In America, you just never see something like that. So the supply and demand in North America is not great for these. So yeah, that keeps the prices pretty high. So I will never not be jealous of that. But I better not focus on jealousy and just focus on the fact that I have finally made a childhood dream come true. Just in time for my 34th birthday. Look at this guy. Isn't he cool? A little gladiator. Gladiator station wagon. So cool. So that is pretty much going to be it from me for now. Although I did mention that earlier video I had the 7 pet bugs for ADHD people, and I happened to mention best beetles at that time, which I also am extremely fond of, but unfortunately at the time of making that video I did not have any. Now, however, I have a half dozen of them. So be on the lookout for my video on best beetles, which I will definitely get out pretty soon, but I just had to talk about this guy first. So I will catch you next time, everybody. So take care of each other, take care of the earth, and I will see you in the next one. Ow! Jerk. Aloha.